Hello, good evening. I want to start the programme tonight with an interview that I'm still reeling from. It's with a mum from Warrington, Esther Ghey, an ordinary mum in lots of ways, but also one of the most extraordinary people that I've ever met. A year ago, her daughter Brianna was murdered. She was 16. She was stabbed to death by someone she thought was her friend. Well, since then, Esther has been at the centre of a tornado of news at the trial, where two 16-year-olds were found guilty of an exceptionally brutal killing. And here in Westminster too, Brianna was transgender, and there was a political storm when Rishi Sunak made a jibe about Keir Starmer not knowing what a woman was at the same time that Esther was visiting Parliament. But throughout it all, Esther herself has remained perfectly dignified and still in the eye of the storm. And as you'll hear in a moment, she's pretty critical of the big tech companies. She says they're turning a blind eye to the damage they're causing to children and are too focused on profits. She's looking at working together with Ian Russell, the father of teenager Molly Russell, who took her own life after looking at images of self-harm on social media. And she doesn't want to play politics. She wants to create a lasting legacy for her daughter, rather than get involved in a row that Brianna's case caused at Prime Minister's Questions earlier this month. After that session in Parliament, the Treasury Minister, Laura Trott, came to this studio and said that Esther Ghey didn't want the case to be about trans issues. But when I asked her, she told me that the fact Brianna was trans was a factor in her murder. Well, Esther says politicians aren't listening, or they are listening, but they're not doing enough. And she doesn't see how government plans to ban mobile phones in schools are going to help because teachers are under enough pressure. What she wants to see is a law changed around how young people can access social media to spread mindfulness in schools, a mission to create a real legacy for her daughter. But what I felt when I sat down with her earlier was her steel. This is a woman on a mission. Thank you so much for talking to us today. I just want to say what a privilege it is for you to give us your time, so we really appreciate it. It's been a year since you lost Brianna, something that no mother should ever have to go through. What do you want your daughter's legacy to be?
So I'd like to create a lasting legacy for Brianna. I'd like to improve the mental health of young people, and I would also like to see a more empathetic and a more understanding and more mental resilient society as well.
I'm really keen to talk about both of those two things that you've clearly got lots of ideas about and you want to campaign on. And to talk about Brianna's legacy and the person that she was as well. I did just want to spend a little bit of time talking about what happened to her in the trial as well, if I can. And I don't really want to talk that much about the people who did what they did to your daughter, or even really sort of use their names. But obviously, there was concern over the sentencing. Do you think it was just?
I think the sentencing that the judge gave was correct. I think that I can't really see that they will ever get out of prison, especially like Scarlett, I suppose. But no, I think that the sentence that the judge gave was as firm as she could have given, really.
You say that you don't think they'll ever leave prison. Do you think that would be the safest thing?
Yeah, I think that Scarlett is very dangerous to society, and I think that her behaviour since being found guilty has also been very concerning, and I think that prison is definitely the best place for her.
You said that you'd like to meet her parents, her mother. Why did you think that? For many people, it's such an extraordinary thing to sort of say.
Well, firstly, I don't blame the parents in any way. I know how hard it is now to monitor what your child is doing and to safeguard them and to keep on track of everything that they're taking in online. And yeah, I'd like to meet Scarlett's mum to see how it was for her and if she had the same struggles as what I had with Brianna, and just to see what life was like as a family, really.
It's incredibly sort of gracious thing to say. Have you had any response at all from her?
I haven't directly had any response, but hopefully we can meet in the future. And but yeah, if we do, it will be a very private and personal thing for both of us.
Which would be the right way to do it, completely. Yeah. Do you think the fact that Brianna was trans was a factor in her murder?
I think in Eddie's case, it was a contributing factor. But I do think that Eddie is a hateful boy anyway. But yeah, it definitely was.
And how do you think you were treated throughout the court process? Was there enough support for you?
Yeah, yes, the Cheshire Police have been really good throughout, really. We've had liaison officers which have treated us really, really well, and we've always been kept in the loop, and yeah, they made sure that we were okay in court, and yeah, I was completely, I felt completely looked after, really.
It's really good to hear that, because yeah, and actually quite refreshing to hear that can be the case as well. I sort of followed the trial, and you know, I did just want to sort of say how, you know, what came across so strongly to me was what an amazing mother you were. You know, the messages that you sent, for example, saying well done for getting on the bus and all that kind of stuff. It obviously, like a very loving sort of relationship that you had with your daughter. So I'm really keen to sort of talk now about what you want to do and the change that you want to make. So what's your idea around mindfulness in schools?
So I feel that mindfulness has really helped me. I've practiced mindfulness on and off for about 8 years now. My preferred thing is meditation, so every morning I will try to wake up and meditate straight away, and I feel like it's given me a level of mental resilience, and also it's increased my self-compassion too, and I think that as a result that has helped me massively. When what happened to Brianna happened, it kind of took the impact of the trauma, and then it's also helped with the healing process as well. And because of my experiences, I really wanted other people to experience the benefits of mindfulness. And I would like to see it in schools in England. So we've been running a campaign called Peace in Mind with the Warrington Guardian, along with where we're getting the Mindfulness in Schools project to train teachers up. And we've raised over £75,000 now. Our goal was £50,000. So this means that we'll be able to get a mindfulness teacher trained up in every school in Warrington. And the next steps are to see how the government can support us moving forward to get this spread out across England. I mean,
it just feels like such a simple thing that could make a huge difference to, you know, kids struggling with mental health. You know, do you think there is almost like a mental health crisis among young people?
Yeah, definitely. I really do think there is, and I think that social media and smartphone usage doesn't help, and I think that I want to look at a way that we can strengthen young people's mental health, and also a way to sort of prevent it from prevent the onset in the first place.
You mentioned there about mobile phones and social media use. And you want to see limits on how young people access social media in particular. What is it you want to see?
So I would like to see mobile phone companies, so tech companies, take more responsibility for children's welfare. I'd like to see mobile phones specifically made for under 16s where they can't access social media sites in the first place. And also I'd like there to be a link to the adult's phone, to the parent's phone, and there is already software available because schools are using this kind of software that can flag up concerning words, so that if a child is searching what Brianna's killers did, then it would flag up instantly to the parent's phone, and then they will be able to take action.
I mean, as a parent myself, you know, it's such a huge thing and it's such a worry, and like, you know, thank you for bringing it to the top of the agenda, if you know what I mean. I just wonder, do you feel that social media companies are almost sort of turning a blind eye to it a bit?
Yeah, definitely, and I think that the focus is so much on how much money can be made, and really the welfare of the people that are using these apps isn't accounted for. And I do think that social media companies have a moral responsibility to sort of fix what I think that they've done, really.
Do you think it feels like they just don't care?
Yeah, I think that the main concern is how much money can be made.
Do you think it's one of these things as well where, you know, the technology's changed so much quite quickly? Do you think as a society we'll kind of look back in 50 years and be like, what on earth were we thinking, just, you know, giving these access to the internet to kids that young?
Yeah, I suppose like you can liken it to smoking. Like we all thought that, well, people thought that smoking was okay, and it wasn't until we realised the impact that it actually had on health. Yeah, I do feel that mobile phones and social media, it has gone completely out of control, and yeah, I do hope that there will be a point where we look back and think, what were we thinking? Because then it will mean that we've actually progressed and that we've sorted something out.
Do you think the online harms bill goes far enough?
I don't think so. I don't think it does, and that's why I'm calling for like more drastic measures. But I am willing to speak to the experts and to the regulator and just see like what we can do, and just I think it's important to have these discussions and to see what we can do moving forward. And
to kind of be collaborative, work together and try and find a solution.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I guess the other thing is mobile phone use in schools. It's something that the government's kind of looking into. If it is just guidance that schools could just ignore, do you think that's enough, or do you think there should be a ban on mobile phones in schools?
I don't really understand. I don't know how they would enforce a ban on mobile phones in schools. I think that there's already so many pressures on teachers, and I know that a lot of it does come from mobile phones, but I think that a lot of schools don't allow mobile phones anyway, but children just find a way to
smuggle them in. Yeah. It's a good point. It's a very fair point. There's almost been a bit of a community of parents whose kids have been impacted by social media use. I'm thinking about Molly Russell, who took her own life after looking at self-harm videos on Instagram. Have you reached out to her parents at all?
Yes, so I'm in contact with Ian Russell, and I'm really hoping to work alongside him to try to push for a change, because I think that the more people that are together, the louder our voice, and I think that's really important. Has
that been quite a supportive sort of relationship then?
Yeah, I think is really great, and I think I can learn a lot from him as well.
Yeah, he's certainly an incredible campaigner, I think, to getting that across. I know you have said that you don't want to talk about what the PM said about trans people at PMQs when you're in Parliament, and I really respect that, and to be honest, I think it really shows how you kind of want to rise above the politics and not get dragged into that. It does feel like you are kind of keen to kind of take the politics out if you're campaigning. Yeah, well, I think that what we're talking about is real lives, and I think that that's what I want to focus on, and I want to focus on creating that lasting legacy for Brianna, and I want to focus on making life better for people. And how do you think politicians have reacted so far to the things that you've called for in terms of mindfulness in schools, in terms of limits on mobile phones? I feel that with regards to the mindfulness in schools, there has been cross-party support so far. We've received a lot of positivity from that. I think that the mobile phones is in the early stages at the moment, but we've run a petition. I think there's over 95,000 signatures on there now. So, maybe that's the next thing. I can have a chat with politicians. Yeah, I bet you'll be a formidable person to have a chat with. Is it something that you would like to see in the party's manifestos, all the parties' manifestos, going into the next election? I definitely think that there needs to be more of a focus on young people's mental health, and, if we could get both of the things that I'm campaigning for written into manifestos. And I know it must be really difficult to talk about Brianna, but you're talking about mobile phone use. How do you think social media impacted her? I think that social media impacted Brianna massively. So Brianna was self-harming, and she had an eating disorder, and she also suffered with anxiety as well. I only found out after her death that she'd been accessing pages on Twitter that were encouraging self-harm and eating disorders. I didn't even know that these existed, and I imagine that there's so many parents out there that are probably struggling with their teenagers that are harming themselves or restricting their eating, and they could also be being impacted by what they're seeing online. And we need to raise the awareness, and we need to talk about it and hopefully prevent it from happening at all. I mean, people talk about kids and teenagers, young people, not being able to escape from it because it's on their phone, in their bedroom, in their house, in places that they should be feeling safe. Yeah, like when I was younger, if you were having any grief, any hassle at school, like bullying or anything, you would go home, and your home's your safe haven, whereas now there's no safe place, like you say, you're just carrying it around with you 24/7 and there is no escape. Just kind of to end the interview, I want to talk a bit about Brianna. How would you describe her to someone who, you know, like me, would never get to meet her?
Brianna she was so complex and she's so hard to describe, but she was absolutely unique and she was one in a million as well. And she was just so full of life and fun and happiness. She was much younger than what she was really. She was the baby of the house. So yeah, she was so much fun and she had an infectious laugh and. Yeah, but like I say, that she was so complex. So because on the other hand as well, she was struggling, but she never let that like stop her or get her down. She always was like proud and happy to be who she wanted to be. Is
there any kind of particular sort of memory that you think about a lot, or that you want to share with people that you think, oh God, that was so Brianna?
So like all of my best memories are the simple ones when we are at home and we're just dossing about and spending time with each other. But she also used to love, we've got 2 dogs, so we only holiday in England, so we'd always make sure that we had like a hot tub holiday, and she absolutely loved the hot tub, and she would just be bobbing around it for about 8 hours a day, like you could not get her out of it. And yeah, that's, I think they're probably my fondest memories, the times when you're not at work and you can actually like really spend proper time.
Some quality sort of time with people that you love. You've done her really proud, so thank you so much, and thank you for talking to me today as well.